It's Saturday, January the 17th. I cannot believe that this week has flown by as quickly as it is, and here I am again, off to work on a Saturday morning. School was all right this week. It went quickly. It was quite enjoyable. Nothing really exciting has happened this week. I just want to thank you for watching last week's video and subscribing. So I think last week we were about 200 subscribers. Saturday morning, as I'm recording now, I think we're 503 or something. I'm absolutely over the moon, I cannot tell you. Monday we're going to talk about other ways of saving money. This wasn't necessarily going to be a money channel, and I'm going to tell you how I'm getting on with my goals for 2026 so far. We'll be 3 weeks into the year-ish by Monday. And some ideas I've got for how I'm going to give myself a kick up the butt. So stay tuned for that. And just like that, Monday has come round again. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you 2 experiences I've had in the past 7 days with the NHS. They're positive experiences. I'm going to be sharing with you how I did with last week's money. I'm going to talk about the book that I've just read and what I'm potentially going to be reading next. And I think that's about it. There may be other things along the way, but do go and get yourself a drink. I'm drinking a double chocolate mocha because I feel like I need it. It's just coming up to 1:30, and this morning was very stressful because I had to take my cat Blue to the vet. It wasn't an unplanned visit, or I should say it was a planned visit, but I always get very anxious because I think, am I going to get her in her cat carrier? She's very, very suspicious of it. And about a week ago, we got it out of the loft and it's been in the kitchen, sitting there, and she has avoided it like the plague. And I think it was on maybe Saturday or Friday night, I hit upon the idea of actually putting her food bowl right in the back of the cat carrier. And she was a bit suspicious again at first, but she has been going in, but back legs out of the cat carrier, so stretching in. It was hilarious. But anyway, it was a double-pronged approach with me and my husband this morning. The appointment was 10 o'clock, and she normally gets fed between 7 and 8, and we didn't feed her, kept her hungry. And she did cry a bit, but actually she was really, really patient. You're really excited and interested in this, aren't you? I will put here on the screen where I'm going to talk about money, because I know that is what a lot of you are here for. So yes, we got her in and got her to the vets, and she did really, really well, bless her. But I was stressed, very stressed. Anyway, that's over for another 12 months. Kept the cat carrier in here so that she might grow to associate the cat carrier with nice things happening. Who knows? Anyway, the really good thing about her, I'm really pleased. Last year, she weighed in at 5.7 kilos, and she should be somewhere between 4.5 and 5 kilos. And she weighed in at 3.65. No, 5.36. 5.36. So she's lost about 400 grams, which is nearly half a kilo, which is quite a lot for her. You know, she's lost probably about 8% of her body weight. So the vet was very pleased about that. I'm very pleased about that as well. Now, should we talk about the book next? Yes. So I've just finished reading this book, When Hitler Stole Pink Rabbit by Judith Kerr. And I am fascinated by anything to do with what was happening in Germany in the 1930s and what sparked World War II and the horrific Holocaust. That's all I can say. And Judith Kerr was born in Germany, and she is from a Jewish family. She says, there's some notes in the back of the book, that her parents weren't particularly religious, so she didn't go to synagogue or anything like that. They didn't celebrate the Sabbath. But her father, so this is kind of like a memoir, which is semi-fictional, and semi-fact. So her father was a journalist and a writer, and apparently before the Nazis came to power, they had a list of people that they wanted to get rid of, basically. And her father was near the top of that list because he wrote about Hitler in a very disparaging light, very mockingly. And he used to go on the radio and do live broadcasts where he mocked Hitler. So what's really, really interesting was that there was a police officer who really liked Judith Kerr's dad, and he gave him the heads up that there was a strong possibility that he was going to have his passport taken off him. And even though he'd got the flu, he dragged himself out of bed, his wife packed him a rucksack, and he got on a train to Prague, and he crossed the frontier and was safe. And when it was safe for him to do so, he called for his wife, and they went to Switzerland. And the two children, Judith and her brother, went to Switzerland as well. And it's a really interesting story. There are references to Hitler in it, but it's about, I guess, this young girl, her experiences of being essentially a refugee. So they stay in Switzerland for quite some time, but then the dad needs to earn some money, and he's offered a job in Paris writing for a daily newspaper, but the wages aren't very good. And he goes over to Paris, and then his wife goes over, and the children stay in Switzerland. They're staying in a hotel on a lake, and the family there look after the children, and then the children eventually go over, and it's really lovely, actually. I love the description from Anna. The fictional character is called Anna, but it's based on Judith Kerr's childhood. Sorry if you can hear the dishwasher gurgling away. And what Judith, the adult, writes about in the notes at the back of the book is how her parents kept a lot from her and her brother about how they were struggling financially. And what the dad actually does is he writes a screenplay or a script for a film about Napoleon. And it gets rejected from a lot of companies in Paris. But a Hungarian film company based in London buy the script for £1,000. I wonder what that is in today's money, a considerable sum of money. And the family moved to London, and I think Judith was 12. And there are another 2 books, which I am going to get. So it is a children's book, and I love that it's written from the innocence of a child and their viewpoint. I read a lot of fiction for children. I'm not necessarily young adults, but for children I enjoy it very much. And another book that I was fascinated by was The Boy in the Striped Pyjamas, which is on a similar theme. Very different. And of course that was made into a very famous film, which I used to know off by heart because I used it as a resource when I was teaching drama and expressive arts. And as I say, I used to know that film off by heart, and I just think it's beautifully filmed. I actually watched I watched it once with the director's commentary, and it was the director and what's his name? Is it John Boyne, who wrote The Boy in Striped Pyjamas? He wrote the screenplay for the film, and it's the 2 of them adding commentary over the film, and I found that really, really fascinating. Anyway, that's enough about that, Ashley. So the next book that I might read is, my dad gave me this for Christmas, The Salt Path by Raina Wynn. Now, I know I'm very late to the party on this. Leave me a comment. Have you read this book? And I know there's a lot of controversy, and that Raina Wynn isn't her real name, and her husband Moth, that's not his real name. I think her name's, I want to say Sally Clark. It's Sally something anyway. And yes, that's all I'm going to say. But I think I am going to read that next. Either that, or I'm going to hunt through my stash of books I feel like I could do with a good crime thriller or something. So yeah, I might do that instead. I deliberately haven't done all the research into Rain or Win and all the controversy about it, because I would quite like to read the book as a book without the controversy, if that makes sense. I don't want my vision clouded. But yes, if you've read The Salt Path, leave me a comment. What did you think of it? And if you haven't read it and you are a reader, what are you reading now? I've come to a decision as well to help me with my decluttering. I love books. I cannot go into a bookshop and come out without buying a book. And I believe that books are beautiful, books are educational, books are entertaining, and I don't see it as being frivolous to buy a book. And I know I can get books out of the library, and we do have an awful lot of books in the house, and a lot of books that I haven't read. But if I buy a new book, or a book from a charity shop even, 2 books have got to leave the house. So for every book I bring in, 2 books have got to leave. And when I've finished a book, I will pass it on to somebody or to a charity shop, whatever. And the same is going to be said for clothes. Now, I have shared quite a bit about my budget and how I'm spending my money. What I haven't allocated any money for, and nobody has made a comment about this, I haven't budgeted for any clothing, because I know that I will have a little bit of leeway. I love clothes. At the moment, I'm probably not going to be buying any clothes because I have put on, I want to say, probably 1.5 stones. I did lose quite a lot of weight over a very long period of time. The heaviest I've ever been is 14 stone 9. Don't know what that is in kilograms. And over 190. And I'm only 5'2", 5'1.5". The lowest, and that was February 2020. And the reason I know it was February 2020 was that I was a member of Slimming World at the time. And then we all know what happened a little bit later on in 2020, don't we? So 14 stone 9 was my heaviest. And then I started my YouTube channel, Paper and Twine, in January 2021. And in the March of 2021, I started a thread on that channel called The Secret Diary of a Serial Dieter. And at the time, I weighed myself then, I was 14 stone 2. The most weight I lost was not quite 3 stone. So the lightest, I think, I've got it all written down in a book, the lightest was about, I want to say 11 stone 3, something like that. I didn't quite lose 3 stone. And I weighed myself one day last week and I'm about 12 stone 4. So yeah, not quite 1.5 stones I've put on. Very, very bad, particularly with my high blood pressure, which leads me on to, I'm thinking of restarting Secret Diary of a Serial Dieter on this channel. And I love cooking and I love food, and I thought that would be quite a nice thing to share with you. If you'd leave me a comment in the comment section, whether you think that's something you'd be interested in, I'd be really interested to know. Oh, yes, not starting today, procrastinating. Yes, so health update now. So if you've seen any of my videos before this one, you may or may not know that I was diagnosed with high blood pressure just before Christmas, I think it was. Yes, and I had to take blood pressure readings, and the doctor put me on some blood pressure medication. And I've been on that for just over a month now, and about a month, 4 weeks. I think this is the start of the 5th week. And last week I had to take readings again. So this is one of my experiences of the NHS, and it is a really positive experience, I tell you. I know people are moaning that they can't get a GP appointment and that they don't see their GP. A lot of the time you don't need to, but I had a text last Monday morning about 8 o'clock from the doctor saying, I need you to take your blood pressure readings again for the next 7 days, morning and evening, which I did. And I was fully expecting a phone call today because that's what happened last time. But I've had a text message from the doctor, and it gave a breakdown of all of the readings and said it has come down a bit with the medication, but not as much as I would like. It's still too high. Are you taking your medication? And there was a space for me to say yes or no. Or are you taking your medication every day? And I replied yes. So a little while after that, I get another text message, and she says, I am upping your medication. I'm doubling the dose, basically. I've sent a prescription to the pharmacy, and we'll review it again in 4 to 6 weeks. I mean, how speedy is that? About 5 minutes after I'd had that text from the doctor, I had one from Boots, the pharmacy, and they said, we've received your prescription, we'll message you when it's ready to collect. I mean, that is just such good service. I cannot tell you. I'm just, over the moon. I'm obviously really worried about my blood pressure, and the procrastinator in me has done nothing about joining the gym. And I know that I could afford it. You'll see when I come to show you my spending. I know that I could afford it. So what's holding me back? I think one of the goals I said in one of the first videos of 2026, I think it was video 1, was that I was going to walk every day. Have I? No, I was going to say a rude word then. And I should go out for a walk today. And in fact, actually, hubby bought me some earbuds for Christmas, and I haven't used them yet. It's really bad. He's really disappointed, but they are charging, and I am going to pair them with my phone in a minute. And when I've finished filming this, I am going to go for a walk up to Aldi. I'm going to get a loaf of healthy bread and some bananas. I don't know what I'm going to have for my tea. We have got leftovers, but yes, I'm going to walk, even if it's just for 20 minutes. I'm going to walk. So that's my first experience of the NHS. How long have I been going? Ages. Oh my goodness, absolutely ages. You need to crack on, girl, because people have got better things to do than watch you. Second experience, on Wednesday, my son, who lives at home, phoned me from work. He was in great discomfort. About 5 days earlier than that, he'd burnt his hand at work, and it had been dealt with, and it had first aid, and he'd signed the accident book and all that kind of stuff. But he was in a lot of discomfort and he couldn't do his job, and he said, I don't know what to do. He said, I've phoned 111 and they said I need to go to Coventry to have it looked at. He says, I don't want to go to Coventry. There's a big hospital in Coventry, and my son doesn't drive yet. He's having lessons, or has had some lessons, and I said, well, why don't you go to the walk-in centre at our local hospital? And he said, oh, I don't know. And I said, Harry, what do you want to do? He says, I want my mama. So I went and collected him, and I took him over to the hospital, and I dropped him off. He said he didn't want me to stay with him. And I said, well, be prepared to, spend a lot of time here. Apparently, he walked straight in, was seen straight away. I mean, okay, it was about 1:30, 1 o'clock on a Wednesday lunchtime. It's not like it was Friday night in A&E. He was seen straight away, and the nurse that saw him said, I'm not very happy with how this looks. You need to see a specialist. And Harry was like, oh, God, And she said, just go to that room over there. And they've got a burns specialist opposite. They walked straight in there. They did blood tests. They swabbed the wound, gave him antihistamines because it was itchy, gave him antibiotics. So he was seen straight away. 2 really positive experiences of the NHS. I won't hear a word said against the NHS. I know it's broken, but I love it. Absolutely love it. Anyway, I've got 2 more things to talk to you about. And we will put on here, I think, the money aspect of last week. So it's time to round up how I've done this week. What should we do first? I'll go through some of the expenses that I've had this week, I think. I'm quite excited, you know. One of the things that I did last week, so this is my little book that I've shown you, writing down what I've spent. So I think I showed you this last week. I haven't withdrawn my cash yet today. I have been out, but it was been horrible. It was raining. So I'm going to go out and do that in a minute, but I've budgeted for it. And then last Tuesday, and I think I'm going to do this on a Monday now, I've done a money check-in. So my balance in my account was £1,280, which I don't think's bad going at that point in the month. I get paid on the last working day of the month, I believe it is, or the 31st. We'll go with the 31st. That's what I'm budgeting. And then my pension payment comes in on the 3rd of the month. So this is the expenses that I've budgeted for. And you could see that I had a disposable income of £320. I didn't need to buy this. I'm keeping a track on what I'm spending on my craft supplies, because those are the things that matter to me. Those are the things that I really like. Didn't spend any cash. Did spend quite a lot in the cafe. But, you know, it's my cash. It's what it's there for. No cash spent because I was at work. And I didn't spend any cash on Friday. And then at the end of the week, I'm totaling up the things that are my variable spends, if you like. So I'm allowing £30 a week for fuel. Well, luckily the fuel had gone down, I think by, I want to say 3p a litre, and it's always cheaper at my dad's anyway. So I think it was 125.9, whereas the cheapest here for me is 130.7 if I go to Asda. So I was under on my fuel. I was under at Bacco, I'd had a bit of a day and I needed some comfort food and a glass of wine. Food, yes, I've spent a lot on food this week, £31.86. And I can't say that I've bought anything that was any good, really. It was £14 and 2p in Tesco and £17.84 in Aldi, totaling £31.86. But I was under. So you can see that I was under on all of my categories. I'm most pleased about the fuel, actually. And yeah, I feel like I can treat myself to a little tazz around in the car somewhere. So I've decided I'm doing a money check-in on a Monday now. And I won't bore you with the details. You can see that for yourself there. Or maybe you can't. I haven't taken this week's cash out yet, but you can see what I've got left to spend. Monthly savers coming out this week. Last year, I saved £150 a month into a monthly saver with Lloyds. I've opened a new monthly saver which pays 6.25% interest. Now, it doesn't pay it for the full 12 months. So for the first month, whatever is in there gets the 6.25, and then whatever you add in after it I can't quite explain how it works, but you don't get the 6.25 on the full balance at the end of the term. The other thing that, yes, so it totaled 602. You might have seen that I budgeted last week for a visit to the vets. I budgeted £120. It actually came in at slightly over that. I've come back today from the vets. I've not been, but my cat has. She did behave really well until she hissed at the lovely lady vet who was trying to look at her eye. I think she might have a bit of an eye infection, but she didn't flinch when her cat flu jab went in, so that was good. But that came in at just under £125 today, but I know that I've got the money for it. And I think going forward, the monthly saver that I've opened today, I'm aiming to save £400 a month in it when I can, and I'm taking that out of last year's monthly saver plus £200 out of my bank and anything else that I can put in. But that money then will be for things like the vets and any unforeseen circumstances. But that all comes, what I've got left to come out of my account, £602. We're down to £898. So I've got 296 disposable income. I need £90. I've got to pay a deposit for a hotel for a trip I'm going on in October. And I thought that they would take it at the time of booking, but they haven't. And I keep, and there's no way to pay online. It's really weird. Anyway, yes. The other thing that I've got coming up is a trip to London towards the end of February. And I want a bit of spending money for that as well. So let's do the 52-week challenge. I've opened another account in my bank, which is paying 2.75% interest. And I might move that, actually. I'll be looking at Tesco's. I don't know. I know that I can get a better rate than that, but 2.75 isn't bad. Yes, so let's see how much we're going to save this week in week 3. This one is speaking to me here. Let's see what you are. And I haven't put that in this week's. Oh, it's only £11. I think we can cope with £11 this week. And let me just get the right colour. So £11 is going in there. We've saved 44 already, so that'll take us to 55. So yes, I'm pleased about that. Now let's see what's left in the wallet. As I say, I haven't been to the bank yet, but I will be going to the bank. So we've got 20, 30, 40, 50. How much did I spend in cash, did I say? Oh, it was under £20, wasn't it? But I'd got £5 left over from the previous week, which I didn't count. And I've also, yes, I paid the £5 last week at the post office out of last week's money, but I've counted it in this week's cash. So this isn't going to add up. Oh, and you know, I was really cross. I bet you've all turned off now. If you're still here, can you leave me a cat emoji? Because my cat did really well at the vets. I need to keep some cash in here for car parking. I've got 20p, yeah. So we'll leave that in here for car parking. Yes, I parked my car on Wednesday for evening knitting. This is my notes one. And it took my money but wouldn't give me a ticket. So I was really anxious that I was going to get a parking ticket. And it did say out of order on the machine after it had taken my money. So, yeah. So there we go. That's the notes in my notes pot. I might swap this out for a different tin. I've got this, which I could save my notes in, although it's a bit big. Either that, or I'm going to make it into a little pot with herbs in, drill a couple of holes, drainage holes in the bottom, and have it in the garden with a little plant in it. Right, so pound coins can go in the pound coin container. We haven't got any £2 coins today. And I don't know whether I've showed you this. This was a snack container, and I'm in the process of just making it look pretty. So that can go in there. Right, let's go back up top. So, welcome if you've skipped past the beginning bit of this video. Let me just swish you around that way a bit, that's better. Can you see my daffodils? I bought them yesterday. I did buy them from Tesco's, £1 a bunch for only 95p in Aldi. I could have saved myself 10p because I bought 2 bunches. Anyway, I love spring flowers. Do you know, I'm all over the place. Anyway, here is my little book, and I've yet to walk up to Aldi, and there is a cash point up there, so I will be getting my money out for this week. And this is just what I'm like. My brain is like a butterfly flitting from flower to flower, from leaf to leaf. And I was talking about books, wasn't I? What, for every book in, 2 books out. And I was saying I love clothes, and if I buy clothes, yeah, because I got on about the blooming weight loss, didn't I? I can't foresee me buying any clothes, although I'm hopefully going to Birmingham on Monday. Sally, if you're watching, hello. I'm really looking forward to seeing you if you're still up for it. But I'm hoping the sales will still be on, and there are 2 shops that I'd like to look in. So if there's a bargain and something that I really want, I might buy it. But yes, every new item of clothing that comes in, 2 have got to go. And I do need to start the big wardrobe declutter. Need to start the big house declutter. Anyway, I'm pleased with how the money has gone this week. Let me know what you think in the comments. One of the things I didn't say in that little clip where I was top down, I have transferred my instant access cash ISA to a 2-year fixed. It's fixed for 2 years at 3.25. The transfer hasn't gone through yet. It's told me it's going to take between 7 and 15 working days. I am going to pop into the bank just to make sure everything's all right, because I think you only have 30 days to pay in for the transfer, if that makes sense, and then you are adding to it. So I think that's going to be quite a good thing for me. I'm still contemplating trading 212. If anybody has any experience of that, please do share with me. And Sun has told me that I need to have put my lump sum into an ETF, whatever that is. And that's kind of like a combination of shares and stocks and bonds and whatever. And they perform really well. So, hoping next Wednesday, what will that be, the 28th, that I will have an appointment at the bank just to talk that through. Now, before I talk about why schools need to be teaching financial literacy, I just want to read you this card that I had. I'm in 2 minds about whether to share why I left teaching. Let's just say it wasn't a very pleasant experience, and I finished full-time secondary school teaching, employed, in December 2018. And my workplace at the time, I'd been there 17 years. And, it's a considerable amount of time. And I still have PTSD over the whole experience. As you now know, or as you may not know, I teach for a theatre school, just part-time. Well, they only operate on a Saturday morning anyway. And a couple of girls in the older group have made the decision, difficult for them, that they're going to leave. One of them's just grown out of it. She wants to do sport. And the other one, she's in year 12 and is a really keen dancer and wants to do more competitive dance. And both of the girls came back on Saturday to say their goodbyes. One of them bought me these Auntie Bojangles, and the other one bought me, I don't know that you can just see, yeah, you just see it there, that orchid. I hope it survives. It looks a little bit sorry for itself, but the girl that bought me the orchid gave me this thank you card, and I thought I'd just share this with you. And bear in mind, all I will say about why I left teaching, it was because I was told I wasn't good enough. So, it says, to Ashley, thank you so much for being such an amazing drama teacher. Ever since I joined Theatre Train 6 years ago, I have always looked up to you as a role model and admired your creativity. You truly built my confidence when acting and have inspired me in so many ways. She's inspired me, I tell you. You never fail to cheer me up with your fun, silly activities that have taught me to never lose the child in me and embrace the playfulness. I am so thankful for the skills you have taught me, and I know that they will stay with me forever. I've cried when I read this. I know I'll be back at every opportunity, as Theatre Train is so special to me. Thank you so much. I won't say the girl's name, but that just, I should keep that for a very long time to come. Anyway, financial literacy. So I was school had finished on Friday, and one of my young colleagues came in to the room that I do my intervention in. A lot of us do interventions in this particular room. And I was just writing up my notes from the day. And I said, oh, you know, what are you up to? Where are you going? This colleague of mine is only 21. I think she's the youngest in our department. And she said, oh, I'm going to the bank to get some savings out. And I went, oh, okay. And I know that she lives at home with her dad. And she shared with me freely that she got no money left. And it was still on Friday, 2 weeks till payday. And I said, oh, why do you think you've run out of money so quickly? And she said, I honestly don't know. And so we got into a conversation about money and budgeting. And she is really good at knowing that the money's got to last a month, but hasn't got a lot of understanding of where her money goes. So we had a little chat, and I said that I would give her, I said, what you need to do is understand where your money's going. Now, her dad is ill and can't work, so he's on universal credit. And I know that this young girl gives a lot of money to help run the house. And that's really good of her, really good of her. But my feeling is that she shouldn't be getting into debt. Well, I don't think she's in debt, but she shouldn't be having to stress because she's subsidising her father. I don't think any 21-year-old should be subsidising their father. And I think it's good that she pays towards the household bills because she's living there, and that's really good. So I said that I'd take her in a book. I'm going to cover this like a bit like mine, maybe prettier, and show her how I kind of categorise my wants and needs, and just go through with her what I do. And hopefully, if she can write down how she spends her money, just even if it's for 2 weeks, it'll give her a better understanding. But it got me thinking, I don't think schools do a good enough job on teaching financial literacy. Now, back in the day when I was a middle manager in a school, there was something called Every Child Matters, and there were 5 categories that schools had to address for a rounded experience of young people in education. And one of them was financial competence. And at the school I worked at the time, we did do quite a good job of financial literacy. The school I'm at now, I can't say for certain that they do or they don't. I don't think they do. It needs to have much more of what's the word I'm looking for? A priority, I think. Because people so easily get into debt, and in these days where we are facing so much financial uncertainty, I think if young people can be given the tools and the knowledge of how to budget early on, I think that's really, really interesting. I did see a video on here actually. It was a short of a dad, he was American, a dad with his boy in the supermarket. His boy was 4. I think it had 15 million views or something, this short video. And he'd given him $10 in the form of plastic coins. And he said, the dad said, you can spend whatever you want, spend your money on whatever you want, but once it's gone, it's gone. And he was going, and the boy's going, I think I'd like this watermelon. And the dad said, well, that's $4. Give me $4. So he gave them, and oh, can I have this? Yes, that's $2. You've got another $2 left. And then, oh, I really want this. Well, that's $6. You only have 2 left. Dad was so good at this. And there doesn't seem to be that strand in our UK education system. And this girl that I worked with said she just had no clue, really, had no clue. And she was dipping into her savings, but her savings were nearly gone. So I'm hoping that I can help her a little bit and encourage her, because she's got a good head on her shoulders. And yeah, so there's a lot that schools can do. I know that when I was at school, at primary school, we had a bank. And I think it might have been NatWest. They came in once a week and you could put money into your bank account to save. And I mean, for me at the time, it might have only been 50p here, 50p there. It wasn't a lot, but it did get me thinking about money a little bit. And then another thing that we had to do when I was at secondary school, it was for maths actually. And I don't think that financial literacy should be part of maths. I think it needs to be its own standalone thing. Why aren't schools teaching financial literacy? I don't know. But anyway, in our maths lesson, we were given a fictional £100 to spend on the stock market. And you had to track for a month whether your shares went up or down, and you could split them. And that was a really interesting thing to do. Schools could do that, you know, just as a bit of fun. Maybe schools could partner up with a bank and get kids saving. But let me know in the comments what you think. I'll talk more about financial literacy next week, I think. And on that note, I need to phone my dad and go to Andy. Take care, everybody. And thank you for all the new subscribers. I think we're up to 560 now. 3,200 views last week's video had. I wonder if we'll beat it. I don't think we will because it's not as good. But do comment, do like, share and subscribe. And if you get the opportunity to hype, that would be brilliant. Thanks. Bye now.